Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm Dr. Katie. This is Natalie Dureka. She's a pelvic floor PT here in San Diego. Her Instagram is tagged below. And we're doing a new thing on our Instagram, just connecting with local birth network providers in a shared space of conversation, clinical expertise, but also to support other fellow female business owners as well in our birth community so we can better serve our community and families and pregnant and postpartum people. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Natalie does in her office, what we do, but also how it plays a role. I think one of the biggest things in this country that needs to be addressed is how we approach postpartum. This country does not support postpartum. If you look at Europe, you look at ACOG studies, you look at anything else in other worlds or other countries, I should say, postpartum is greatly supported, and in America, I think we can do a better job of that. So one of my big things in our office, pregnant person or newly postpartum person, we always talk about going to a pelvic floor PT right away for an exam. It's not something that's always recommended unless there's certain symptomatologies or certain boxes to get checked in the medical world here in this country. And I believe, and many birth providers, I imagine you might agree as well, it needs to be addressed because oftentimes there's things down the road that can come up through birth in the process and that are missed, unfortunately, because our medical system needs some improvement. So Natalie, would you mind maybe sharing a little bit about what you do, who you are, and then the importance of getting checked by a pelvic floor PT after you give birth?
Absolutely.
Cool.
So just like you were saying, it's missed here in America. I have worked all over the United States, and a lot of people are not aware of pelvic floor physical therapy, including doctors. So I would love to just give you more information on the importance of it and why it may be needed. So we do see patients who are pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, and postpartum. Postpartum is huge because what happens is
Love the model.
Yeah, we just went through a traumatic event to our pelvic floor, and a lot of times it just doesn't heal properly on its own. And I see patients from 20 years old, I think my oldest patient was in their 90s, and I'm seeing patients 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s because of things that weren't addressed and corrected initially after postpartum. So as you can see right here, we have pelvic floor muscles. They're like any other muscles in your body, but they sit in a cave and we never talk about them. And they start at your pubic bone and they wrap around and attach to your tailbone, and they affect everything in between from bowel, bladder, and sexual dysfunction. And a lot of issues after postpartum there's so many, but the main ones that we treat are incontinence, we treat any kind of prolapse, back pain, urgency, frequency. So those are probably the main ones right after, pain with intercourse, or even just, trying to put a tampon in again. We get some secondary muscle guarding down there, and just trying to teach your body proper ways on how to rest and as well as strengthen and relax those muscles.
And heal.
Absolutely.
And I think what pregnant people, newly postpartum people, and women forget is the placenta that is attached to you inside, it's literally a wound that takes time to heal, right? So in surgery, there's that 6 to 8 window, you can't do anything, or not that you can't do anything, but you have to be mindful of it for 6 to 8 weeks, right? So I think a lot of women and newly postpartum people, they have this urgency, especially if they're really into working out and things like that, to rush that process. Mm-hmm. And BirthFit actually, organization I've done a lot of education with, the quote they use is fast is slow, which is a really beautiful quote in a way, to let the body heal organically. Because you can't see the actual wound, your pelvic floor needs to heal. So that 6 to 8 week window of healing that they're not actually visibly seeing because they didn't have a scar, they're still scarring inside, and change with relaxin going up and hormonal changes that the word grace, and giving people grace and giving people time to heal and not rush that process into working out or going back to work or doing the most and all the things, and a new child and what that looks like. I imagine you could give more insight into the biggest things that you see when people rush back and rush that healing process. In your practice, what do you see the most, you think?
You're absolutely right. A lot of times when patients try to go too big too soon, they'll worsen their diastases recti if they have it, or they'll use the wrong muscles and just end up getting more pain or bigger issues, because I know it's a lot of people think pelvic floor physical therapy is Kegels. And more times than not, patients' pelvic floors are already too tight, so we're trying to teach them how to relax it and calm it down.
It's almost the opposite.
Absolutely.
Like people just think to do Kegels to strengthen it, but it's really just that, like picking up the blueberry but relaxing it. Like the opposite.
Because if your pelvic floor was already too tight and then we're trying to strengthen it when it's already too strong, you're not going to get as much strength as if you have like relax it all the way first. As well as afterwards, just from the trauma of pregnancy, our muscles like to have that secondary muscle guarding. So if you're walking around all day with your muscles tight, and then a force comes like a sneeze or a cough, it's just going to relax and you're going to leave, or our organs are going to essentially drop down. So just protecting them from the start of postpartum through the rest of our life.
Which is why I think in the medical world, a pelvic floor assessment is really, really crucial. And unless, unfortunately, in our system, unless there's some sort of red flag or there's some sort of issue in that 6 to 8 week postpartum checkup, they're not going to recommend. And again, it's not, the doctors do a great job. It's just how the system works. It's like they need something to document for the insurance to pay for it, and I get it. But that's why I always recommend our members go. And it's worth paying out of pocket just to check. It's like one check after just to make sure everything's on point. If it's not, then you can address it. And then you can address it through insurance, hopefully. So.
And a lot of people just don't know. I'll have patients.
They just don't know. I usually say like pelvic floor, they're like, what's that? So
even doctors, I don't think not everybody knows to refer them out. And postpartum, like you were saying, could be 3-4 years out. And my patients are just like an epiphany happens after they learn, because it's easy fixes. A lot of it is lifestyle change, breath work, changing how you're going to the bathroom. All play a role in pelvic floor health.
Yes, and also breathing from your diaphragm and out your chest is like a game changer.
Oh yeah, we could talk all day about that.
How many people you teach how to breathe, do you think, in your office?
Oh, 98 to 99%.
Same.
Because our diaphragm and our pelvic floor work like a piston where they should move together. But in today's society with poor posture, anxiety, trying to appear thinner by tightening down here, we become chest breathers, and it's working opposite of our pelvic floor, causing that dysfunction.
Totally. Yes, I think. Any hypnobreathing class or any breathing class or what have you for pregnancy, I think I always ask patients or members to take a big breath in when they breathe, just like when they go face down on the table. And I would say probably 90%, unless they've already been instructed or they're aware, what have you, they breathe from here. And it's just a cue. It's just an awareness thing. And once you can kind of tap into that awareness, it changes so much in how your pelvic floor and your organs and muscles, tissues work together. So cool.
And it's either people can't even.
And it's uncomfortable. Like putting your hands here and pushing your stomach out here. Our whole culture has taught us to be thin, especially females. And postpartum, that is a big, energetic, emotional topic within what your body looks like postpartum. So just pushing your stomach out here is so faux pas in our culture, and it's sad. It makes me sad that we're in a country that just doesn't stress these things, and those conversations are not being had. So but it kind of shifts, like, what are we doing in those conversations that we're having? Make it important to continue to push this envelope and try to shift the paradigm of postpartum health and female health and pregnant people health in this country.
I love that. And it's so true. I think just that awareness too, because it's very similar to our upper traps, where if you're stressed, you're going to tighten your pelvic floor
100%
as well. So we'll get in. I'll do some diaphragmatic release because people are tight after years of just being chest breathers.
It's huge. What would you say is the soonest someone postpartum could come get checked by you?
That's a good question. Usually it's when they're cleared by their doctor. So it is about 6 to 8 weeks, depending. And then we'll do internal work if necessary to see what those muscles are doing.
It's important,
That's also a great tactile way to teach patients how to relax their pelvic
Yeah,
floor.
definitely.
So it's tight.
Cool, very cool.
What about you?
So postpartum, it kind of depends. If we've taken care of them during pregnancy, that's a common question. A lot of pregnant people and females will say, how quickly can I come get checked? And also, can I get baby checked? And we can talk a little bit about that in a second. Usually I put it on them and just say, when you feel comfortable leaving. I think having, giving birth, having a new child, if it's a first time parent, is a lot. So leaving the home, what does that look like logistically? I never want to pressure people and rush people. I also offer home visits. I'm always so honored to go do that. When I get invited to a home, like that is like one of the most beautiful, best things ever, to check a newborn and pregnant person and mom and partner as well. So it's a little bit of a gist. I would always say, within a week or two, but again, you have to take into account just the magnitude of the shift. And coming here, I don't want people feeling stressed when they come here. I want them to come here because they want to come here and they feel like loved and supported and seen, and just it's a healing space. So I never really say, the day after. So I just say within reason, when you feel comfortable leaving the house and what that looks like, yeah. But the first time parents, the trend that I've seen, and I imagine you can relate, maybe it's a very different conversation right when baby comes. And some are, some just like this, but for a lot it's a big change, and that's okay. So,
and it's never too late, but
right, of course,
patients
100%.
are always, the sooner you give someone that knowledge,
Totally.
it's going to help with the second and third baby.
Yes,
as well.
100%. And that's something I imagine for you. I've noticed people that come in pregnant moms or pregnant people, they'll say, I didn't get care with my first birth and I got it with my second and third, and it was just a world of difference.
Oh, yeah.
And I can, you also have, can I borrow your birth model actually? I have one in the back too, but biggest thing with birth and getting checked while you're pregnant, we do the Webster technique, which is very specific to psoas, round ligament, sacrum, and how everything works together. But ideally, what we want is a nice clean water slide, exit, and then if there's twisting and turning of the pelvis and ilium and sacrum, it's gonna allow for less space of baby to line up to exit in the most feasible possible way. So we check people during pregnancy, here you go, to ensure A, that their nervous system is better connected, so their onboard computer is really ready to go on that big day, but B, to making sure that pelvis is super clear and balanced so baby has enough room to line up, and then also just can give the best possible chance for lower intervention. And a lot of times, I had one woman come in, she came in the day after she gave birth, and she was like, my body just did its thing. Like I didn't have to think, it just was like doing everything, and I didn't get care of my first pregnancy, and the second one I got it, second, third trimester, and she was like, it was just like innate, it just happened. And that's birth, right? Like that's how birth, ideally, women have been doing this thousands of years, and supporting a person to birth how they feel most safe and supported, and whatever that looks like. Maybe it's hospital, maybe it's home, maybe it's intervention, maybe it's not, but just making sure that the big thing in our office we do is try to empower with options and letting them know that there's other things out there, and giving them information, because I think most people research a car more than they research birth, and we want to make sure that families feel really empowered with. You never want to say I had too much information for birth.
Right.
You want to make sure that there's a lot of information and ways you can go down, and we support however you want to birth as long as you feel really good about it. So,
I love what you said about having just nature take its course, but we're kind of there to set it up to make it easy for the person as well as the after effects.
Totally.
Because we'll have people come in with pubic bone pain, coccydynia, all kinds of issues. So if we can, preventative is key in a lot of it, even just with tearing, teaching patients soft tissue mobilization, strengthening so that they don't get diastases or back pain.
Good.
So I love that.
Yeah, that's great. What I'm curious, just from a provider standpoint, what made you want to do specifically pelvic floor PT? Because it is a specialty, and a lot of people don't know that either. Just like pregnancy and pediatrics and chiropractic is too. But do you want to share a little bit about your journey with that?
Yeah, I would love to. I've been a physical therapist for over a decade and probably a pelvic floor therapist for half of that. But I think with pelvic floor physical therapy, it's the most holistic approach in Western medicine that I found. So you are talking about just lifestyle in general, a lot of de-stress techniques, nutrition, I get to work a lot with the organs, just
Cool.
teaching patients more about how to heal from a foundational level.
Nice. That's great.
There's sometimes pain that's caused by bacteria or like yeast overgrowth, so addressing the gut, and it's just more, it's really helping a population that one doesn't know that there's help for, or that they're afraid to even bring
Or
up.
other options.
Oh yeah, and
totally.
just life changing, where they think that this is my new normal and I have to live the rest of my life this way.
Yeah, that can be overwhelming.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just it's a pretty easy fix too, and just
Yeah.
to see these women like kind of go from surviving to just thriving and
Cool. That's awesome.
fixing other issues that they didn't even know could be fixed.
Yeah.
Because when we address muscles, that work was so much down there. You could be working on one thing and they'll come back and they'll be like, this is better, and this I didn't even
Cool.
know.
That's
so,
awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's just it's such a great. It's much needed, and I feel like I want to spread the word that it
Spread the good
exists.
word.
Yeah.
Totally. I love it.
What about you? What got you into it?
I think just assessing and looking at the health of our country. So we do kids a lot in our office as well. We take care of a lot of kids. If you want to, it's way easier to create healthy children than fix broken adults. And healthy paradigms of health and this philosophy of not taking medication right away and what that looks like. I think I grew up not in a holistic life, and my parents were great, but I had a lot of health challenges. And I think also to just be able to make an impact on children's health where they're not sick, they feel fuller energy, they don't, have all these things, that they're struggling with. And we see kids with seizures, we see kids with ear infections that always feel crummy, and just, when we grew up, I think it was a little different. It's just gotten worse with how many kids are on antibiotics and how many times they've been on them by then, and just trying to create a healthy paradigm, one child and family at a time, to make an impact in the community. And taking care of birth and pregnancy is awesome. And kids, our office, kids run around, it gets a little nuts. It's so great and awesome. And what an honor it is to check. The biggest rush, I think, is checking a newborn, right when they're born. That is so unique and cool, and such an honor that you get to be a part of this. I mean, for the family to trust you, that's a really big deal. So I think just assessing, I was an athlete, I grew up a college athlete, and played sports, and everyone was like, oh, you're gonna take care of athletes? I was like, actually, no. I was in the college coaching world, athletes are who they are, and they're great in their own way, but it's not how I wanna make an impact and serve. And actually my favorite demographic is high school and middle school athletes. But trying to make an impact on people's health and what they can do in an empowering space to feel really alive and full of their life instead of struggling with all these things.
Right, and having a mom lead with their baby, and knowing that they both got self-care and helping their immune system,
right, exactly,
energy levels.
But for you, it's if a mom comes in struggling with all these things, they're struggling, they have a new child, it's not the actual pain that I think we do a lot pain and function, but it's that life effect of how are we able to make a little ripple effect on their life. Now they're sleeping better, they're better connected to their kids, they feel they're less irritable. Their partner and them have a better marriage now. That's, I think, what the beauty of what we get to do is. It's not just the pain, it's not just the function, it's how it affects their life. That really can transform a family. If a baby's not sleeping because it's colicky, we had a baby last week, not sleeping through the night, hasn't slept in 2, 3, 4 nights, and the parents are going nuts. And I get it. I don't do well when I don't sleep either. And I'm sure you don't either. So it's and then the kid sleeps, and now the mom and the dads can sleep, and now this interconnected lack of, less trauma and less emotional distress and just stress, and how your life could just be so much happier. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's those little daily stressors that build up.
Exactly.
I mean, it could change hormone levels, cortisol levels, so just trying
it's
to
huge.
calm those down.
Yeah, it's huge. What is the best way for potential clients, new patients, for you to get a hold of you?
Yeah, that's a good question. You could go to my Instagram page, Holistic Pelvic Coach,
Great.
or
Holistic Pelvic Coach, people.
and or you can email me natshealthhabits@gmail.com. My website is under construction right now.
Great,
so,
that's okay.
Yeah, I usually just
Instagram works great. Yeah,
What about you?
Our website, familyconnectionchiropractic.com. You can call our office. Our office number is on there. You can also direct message our Instagram account as well. You can schedule online as well.
And if I have patients who are wondering what problems can you solve for their little ones,
Yeah.
what would you say are
Like a
some of the
newborn
main
kid?
ones?
Yeah. I would say newborn, big with latching and colic. Sometimes head misshaping cranial challenges. Sleeping, if baby's not sleeping great, that's a big one that we see in the office a lot. And then I would say as the kid gets older, ear infections. Learning challenges, oftentimes when kids get into school, they have some learning processing challenges, and because we deal with neurology, we can support neurological function in that way. Just attention. We had a couple kids in a family start. They just got student of the month for both of them, and I said, that's so great. And the mom said, yeah, it's because we've been coming here. Like the kids seem more attentive and they're more focused in school, and I was like, that's awesome. Like that's so cool, you know. So a barrage of things, but I would say those are the big ones that parents struggle with again in the beginning now. And I think it's also from a place of trauma. Adjusting a newborn and a kid is really different than an adult. It's about as much pressure as you would use on a tomato to check the ripeness. It's super subtle. We have a ton of videos on our Instagram that show what that looks like. But you have to remember, kids fall. They have birth trauma. Even if the birth is ruled, normal, there's a lot of trauma on that first bone in the neck, which is atlas, which plays a big role in how the brain and body functions and the immune system, and how the body can adapt, heal, and thrive through its trajectory of the child's health.
That is so cool that you can treat them from.
It's it's awesome. When I first found that out, I was like floored, and then when I saw it, and it's really cool. So I'm just lucky that I had some people kind of drop the dime of like, hey, maybe you should be a chiropractor in my life, and here I am. So,
well, thank you. We appreciate all you do.
Well, we appreciate you too. Being in the birth community is awesome, and having people to refer to in San Diego now, social media, like it's so easy. I just send like my mom's and parents links of like social media, like forget the day of like a business card. Like people are like, where's your business card? I'm like, I mean they're at the front, but like social media, like it's just easier. It's so much easier.
Oh, I love it. And San Diego has an awesome community.
Yeah, the birth community is huge here, which is awesome, and there's so many great families that we can serve. So
Yeah,
cool. Thank you so much for your time. This is so helpful. Thanks so much, Natalie. Cool.